inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
It's the Contagious Optimism Show with inspiring host Sunny Chayes, featuring best-selling author David Mezzapelle. Real people with real stories of perseverance and hope. Join Sunny and guests ranging from Contagious Optimism co-authors to world leaders as they find the silver lining. Better understand why optimism is so empowering. Be recharged, inspired, and perhaps surprised as they tap into the secrets of a joyful life. To celebrate the human spirit. Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific on UBN Radio and Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific on Gwen Network TV Stories. Contagious Optimism.
Hey! Hi guys, this is Sunny Chayes, and you are with us today on Contagious Optimism, the Contagious Optimism Show, and we'll get it out of my mouth. And I want to let you know we have two amazing guests today. I am super, super excited. We have Regina Cates, who wrote the most incredible book called Lead With Your Heart, and we're going to be having a lot of great information from her in a little bit. But first, I want to tell you that we have the wonderful and incredible David Mezzapelle, who is a walking, talking example of contagious optimism. He decided to sort of take this on, his new baby, and he was very, very successful in many things that he's done in his life, and an entrepreneur extraordinaire, and decided through all of this, all of the gifts that he's received and all the gifts that he's given out and many other things that have come on into his life, to write this book, Contagious Optimism. And from that, so much other information came to him and just ideas and what this should be. And so he decided this needed to be a movement. This needs to be bigger. This needs to be a household name. This needs to be a way of life. And so why not do other things? And so he decided to do a live show. He decided to do this radio show. That's why we're here today. And I'm here too. And so he is an awesome, incredible person. And again, I've met many people through my travels who say a lot of things and write a lot of things and sing a lot of things. And David is truly a person who walks the talk. I have got to honor you to tell you that. So let us bring on the wonderful David Mezzapelle.
Oh, thank you, Sunny.
Do we have applause?
We do.
I mean, I know it's coming. We feel it. Yay!
Thank you. Thank you, audience. Thank you very much.
Studio audience.
Yes,
we have a big
I
studio
appreciate
audience
it.
today.
We actually have a great studio audience here today. Thank you. That means a lot to me. And I feel the same about you.
Oh.
I mean, meeting you and the team we've formed here has just been wonderful. And everybody loves optimism, understands optimism. And I think everybody has a story within them that brings hope to others. That's what the show is about.
Yeah, and this is what the time has come. I mean, I think that this is such perfect timing that you're doing this, because on one hand, there is a lot of despondency. There's a lot of sort of feeling that, well, what does it matter? What does my vote matter? What does it matter if I don't drink this plastic bottle of water? Or what does it matter if I'm sort of in a cranky mood or not today? And the truth of the matter is, this Contagious Optimism movement, book, show, live events, idea is a reminder that our ripple effect is huge.
Exactly. You know, it's amazing because every one of us has a story inside of us. And what many, right? Many.
A few.
And what most people think is boring or uneventful is not. It actually inspires other people to make themselves better. You know, when people go through tough times, they tend to think they're alone. And I say this all the time, but I really mean it. When going through tough times, you think you're alone. But when you hear other people's stories, it gives you hope. And hope is that foundation of optimism. That's I think, the underlying point of why we do this.
There's a book I read many years ago called The City of Joy, which is about a leper colony in India. And this story it's you know that book.
Yeah, great book.
And so the idea in this book is that people who have almost nothing, or in our standards, way beyond nothing, and yet the generosity that's expressed in that book and those stories is so clear. And the reason I mention that regarding your book and the stories is because when you read the stories, a lot of times sort of like, whoa, I thought I had it bad.
Right,
There's a
exactly.
bit of that too, huh? It's like, oh
Exactly.
yeah, number one, I feel alone, and number two, whoa, wham, wham, wham. Enough of that already.
Exactly. The wambulance. No more wambulances. Exactly.
Indeed.
Right. Yeah, I want to see UPS and FedEx hugging each other.
Exactly.
It's so funny.
And I don't know, work out another get up that they
Right,
wear.
exactly. Brown and blue. What can brown and blue do for you?
Yeah.
But it's true. No, it's absolutely. That's a great book, Ben. A very good point.
Well, and so in the so what do you want to talk about first? Because there are a lot of things to talk about. So I'm going to give you the
Sure.
floor here.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, you know, right now, especially being back out here in California, I always notice that people really talk about whether it's their faith or the universe or something coming to them. So what I like to talk about today is the whole ask and you will receive. I really, really believe in that because working with all these co-authors in the book, meeting people at our live events, meeting people at the churches I've been to and libraries and bookstores, what I've noticed is that everybody has this underlying theme of, I was going through this, I asked God or I asked the universe or your faith, whatever it is, you asked something greater than you, and they found it. It came to them.
Mm-hmm.
It might not have been the same day. It might not have been the next day. It might have been a year later or 10 years later. But they ultimately received the insight. Maybe it was, they call it an angel, some people. But when you ask, you do receive.
Mm-hmm.
It just has to be in your heart. You have to be ready to receive it and accept it. And that is probably one of the most rewarding things about this book, is that when people persevered, they knew there was something much greater than themselves. And they asked, it came to them, they accepted it, and they found their way. Whether it was a relationship, their health, sports, education, whatever it may be, doesn't matter. They asked and they received, and that's wonderful.
And the gratitude.
All about the gratitude. You have to be grateful for it.
Yeah,
Have to be grateful for it.
and again, mentioning City of Joy, that the idea of when I read that book, I thought, oh my gosh, about the gratitude, because,
Right.
and then I get that feeling when I'm reading the different stories in Contagious Optimism, because there's so many different really painful situations that people go through. I mean, this is not a walk in the park sort of situation, and yet there is a silver lining. And a lot of times we don't know why we're taken from something. We're ripped from something sometimes, or somebody, or some job, or something. And then through that, we have to like buck up and figure something out. And like you say, there's a dream, there's an opportunity, there's a little whisper in there. Maybe I'm really meant to paint, or maybe I meant to, whatever it is, because that other door closed, that now something has to happen. Or again, in the situation of health, or, real disasters that happen to
Right.
people.
Yeah, it's amazing. As a matter of fact, we just recently connected with who's going to be a co-author in our next book, this girl named Jordan Lowe from West Virginia. And Jordan, amazing story. She was high school student, beauty queen, athlete, everything. She was in a terrible car accident at 17 years old, and she paraplegic because of the accident. Well, when she woke up in the hospital and they told her, what's happened and you're never going to walk again and all that, instead of saying why or blaming the universe, she immediately said, no problem. I'll deal with it.
Whoa.
She's now competing for Miss Wheelchair America. She's learned to drive a car. She's learned to get herself out of a bed with no help. And she's amazing. She never said why. She never blamed anybody. She persevered from the moment she woke up from that accident to right now, right to this moment. Gosh. And I'm so grateful that we connected with her. And I could tell countless other stories, but people are resilient.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an amazing thing, and that's what I love about this.
Well, and I wanted to mention to you about the idea of optimism. Again, in a world where people feel bleak with the news and with a lot of things that are going on in the world,
Yes.
I have found out through studies that are being actually conducted right now that we do have less violence than we used to, believe it or not.
Yes.
We do have more organizations doing something for good on this planet than we used to. And I was starting to share with you earlier about yesterday when I was listening to NPR, and I was listening to this incredible sort of heated discussion with politicians and pundits and the moderator and everything. And then at the end of their hour debate, the moderator said to each of them, okay, we have 1 minute each. Give me something optimistic. He actually used that word. And I thought, amen, brother.
Yes, that's awesome.
And he came up with stuff,
that.
and I won't, go into what each person said, but it was basically like, let's all be involved in politics, and we are the people to make the change. We have no one to look at but ourselves. We have ourselves to make the change with and to be responsible with everything having to do with the environment, with our own health, with our own healing from an accident, our political situation, all of it. We do have the power of the people.
Yes, absolutely. You know what's amazing?
Of the humans.
Exactly. And it's funny when you talk about adversity, which basically we're talking about. When you talk about adversity, one thing I found, again, working on this project is people that were hurt in the financial collapse and the real estate collapse and all that. Of course, nobody wants to lose their money. Nobody. It's just realistic. We don't want to lose our money. But so many people found themselves after that.
Yes.
So many people found their passions. And you know what? When you find your passion, you can always monetize it.
Yep.
And you'll find your way back.
Yeah.
And one of the rewarding things about this, for me at least, has been meeting people that have dealt with adversity, climbed out of it, and found their passion. And it's amazing. And anybody, young, middle-aged, or older, it's possible. It's actually probable.
And it's necessary, I think,
Very.
for vitality. I think that's the thing that keeps us young is finding our passion, rediscovering it, or just luckily, there are a lot of people who just always had their passion and continue doing it their whole life. But like you say, I noticed that I felt that the financial on one hand, disaster was a real gift to so many people. There was so much community built from it. I mean, before, when people had money, there was all of this separatism and people living in gated communities, and everybody was sort of separate. And then with that happening, people had to, including myself, including many people I know, get very creative about how to work with money, the money that is available, or yes, we can manifest more next week or next year, but what's going on right now? Okay, let's get creative. And through that, the passions come, the possibility, you know what, it's not about the money. So yeah, maybe I will pick up the guitar again. Maybe I will just go surfing. Maybe I will do the things that I really loved. And the money can follow, and maybe not as much of it as before, but again, the truth is living in your bliss is a huge gift to oneself as well as everyone around us, right?
Finding Joe.
Finding Joe, exactly.
I went through that. It's funny you say that because
we're talking about a movie, by the way. If for those
movie,
you guys don't know, Finding Joe is an amazing movie. Go see it.
Yeah, about following your bliss and finding your passion. It's wonderful.
Patrick, I forgot his last name, who was the director of that, but he's going to be on the show, as a matter of fact. He's a buddy of mine.
On the show?
Yeah.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah. I love that guy.
For me,
and by the way, just to say about Finding Joe, and you guys do see this movie is about a guy, actually the guy who did it, Patrick, who directed it, was doing all different kinds of things, and he had a little son. His son is the guy who's in the movie, by the way. That
the little
kid,
boy that runs around,
yeah, that's his kid, and that was a complete passion project, and he had absolutely no money. And so when you see the movie and you see the kids at a picnic table depicting a feast in ancient times, this is what he ended up doing to be so creative to get the message across. But it wasn't about the multi-millions; it was about hundreds.
Oh, yeah. The way they blended, that's right. They blended the children's scenes with Joe Campbell and his history. It's just terrific.
The hero's journey, as we are all on. Yes.
That's right. But for me, it's amazing. I always dreamed of compiling people's stories because, as I mentioned before, I think on the last show, growing up the youngest, I spent a lot of time with older relatives and all that. And I always hearing these stories that enamored me. I never let that go. And then when things changed for me in the late 2000s, 2007, 8, 9, I finally found the time and energy to collect people's stories. It's something I always wanted to do since the early 70s. It took that long. And it's the best thing I've ever done. I mean, at this point, it certainly doesn't generate the most amount of money, but I'm not worried about that. Yeah. Because when I see people's faces, when I know that this story has affected them, or yesterday we were at Emeritus Senior Living in Carmel Valley near Carlsbad.
Beautiful.
And we're speaking with the seniors. telling them stories, capturing their stories, singing with them. Oh my gosh, there's nothing more rewarding. And it's exactly what I dreamed going back to 10 years old, 7 years old. Like, this is my calling. So following your bliss, I believe in it 100%.
Well, and this is, again, an example that I'm finding over and over right now in my own circle, which is that people were doing whatever they were doing for a fair bit of time in their life, whether it was a sort of passion or an expectation about how they saw themselves in their life. And then something happens, whatever it is. And I'm telling you, I have so many people on this show and in my life who were financial people who are now climbing mountains, like your buddy Dave Martin as an example.
The Marin Hiking Club.
The Marin Hiking Club, and he takes all these people. I mean, he was a serious financial guy, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that was his deal. Day and night, night and day, 9 to 9, that was his life. And then he at one point just said, you know what, this is not working for me. Exactly. And now he's just a, crazy person in the mountains having a blast with a bunch of other people in Marin and taking people who didn't ever think they could go on hikes. And again, the ripple effect. So he shifts what he's doing. He's way more blissful. He's in his power. He's in his passion.
Definitely.
And then he's able to take that gift to 40 people very often, like 40 and 40 and 40 and 40.
Right.
Like maybe 160 people a month or something like that.
Exactly.
And then it grows and grows and grows. And then those people won't go home and kick their cat.
Thank God.
They'll kiss
Thank
their
God.
wife or girlfriend or whoever it is.
Right. Yeah. He wrote the
child.
story. I know it's crazy when you think about that. He wrote the story, positive aspects of a market correction, and it's exactly what you just said. All those learning lessons from all those financial days, and he's still in that business, but it's not. It doesn't make him him. It's his occupation. It's not his personality.
Right.
It's not his being. His being is being out in nature, connecting people with nature, connecting people in general. And that's what the hiking club's about. And his story is that's what it goes into.
Well, and one of the things that he said on this show, which I really loved, is we were talking about when for example, just now you were saying, okay, well, he still does it, but it doesn't define him. It's not
exactly.
who
That's
he
the word
is.
I was looking for. Define.
And he said to me on the show some months ago with Julie and Michael, which is a crack-up show, he said, when I go to a cocktail party now, I don't want to, when people always say, what do you do? And he added, for fun. And I thought, I love that so much because honestly and truly, the truth is when we're at a cocktail party or wherever, when we say, what do you do? What we're really trying to do is find out more about the person. I mean, it's sort of a social nicety, but really honestly underneath it, that's what you're wanting to find out. And when he said that, I thought, I would really learn so much more about you if I asked you, what do you do for fun, than what do you do, for a living or whatever that other term is meant to be. And so it's like if you said, well, I, whatever it is,
He
I
has
don't know, for some reason, crazy
either.
ideas are coming to my mind when I look at you. I don't know why that is, David. Yikes.
Right. That is great.
Sorry, I don't mean to make you blush, but anyway,
it's okay.
sorry, but we keep it real around here. But that's the thing.
Right.
It's like that is really what we want to connect and we want to know. And the truth is, what we do for fun most probably is much more true to who we are, or closer to who we are. And so, guys, let's just do what we do for fun. And like I've said this on the show before with my son, who's sort of following his. He's younger, he's 24, like, what's life all about, Alfie, kind of thing, and he was feeling guilty a bit about following his passion. And he's like, well, Mom, I'm actually kind of paying money for it. I mean, sometimes I get money, but I'm actually putting money out. And I said, the truth of the matter is, like, we pay for radio shows. Like, we put this out, and then things come back. We don't necessarily do it for the money. We do it for the Dharma. And I said to him, you know what? When you do what you love, I mean, this isn't the reason you do it, but I'm pretty sure people are going to kind of notice what you're up to. Yes. Maybe this or that will happen. And just to report to you, David, what has happened, he was doing a very wild thing called drifting, which is a Japanese mountain alternative car sport, sort of like stunt driving, actually. But it's legal, so, I let him do it. Not that it would matter. He'd probably do it anyway. But anyway, now that he's been following his passion, he's been written up in articles. People have seen what he's doing. He's got a whole huge team. He's got, 20 or 30, probably more than that, 1,000 Facebook followers on his page. I mean, all this stuff is happening, and he just feels really grounded and grateful and happy and proud of himself as a young person, being able to have that and knowing that he's being true to himself. And what a gift at that age, huh? Like,
following his bliss, even.
you know, yeah, at that age. And so I've been a real purporter of that, and people around him sometimes are like, no, you know, you should get a real job. But what the hell does that mean anymore anyway?
Right.
What's that term? A day job, you know?
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's terrific. I love hearing
So
that.
what did you, okay, so what do you want to talk a little bit, just because I have you here
No,
live
sure,
in the
sure.
studio. And by the way, just to let you guys know, very soon we're going to be bringing Regina Cates on. So any of you listeners out there who are waiting for her, she's drinking
Yes.
water and getting ready. So I don't want
I'm
you
looking
to
forward
forget
to
about
it.
her.
Absolutely.
I just want to chat a little bit about, and she's nodding wildly to our conversation, so I can't wait to bring her on.
Right.
I want to talk a little bit about our Contagious Optimism live event,
Yes.
because it was such a community building experience, and
great.
bringing it to the streets. Like, you know, you had the idea, I'm doing a book, and now I want to bring it live. And so let's talk about
Sure.
that feeling of, yes, it's on paper, and then, but let's bring it to our lives,
Yes,
which is
put
what
it
I
on
think that
stage.
was.
Yes,
Yeah.
we so basically what we did was we thought, okay, the book is great. Everything we're doing is wonderful, capturing these stories, helping people find hope and silver linings. We thought, wouldn't it be better if we also put it on stage? So let's get these people on stage, teach them how to speak, give a short talk similar to TED,
Right.
get them up on stage, 12 to 14 minutes type of thing. And then in between their amazing story, have music and entertainment. Because what happens is you hear this incredible story, your senses are in overload, and then music,
Indeed.
right? Brings it right in a line, you feel good, and then the next talk.
Yeah.
And we did this all afternoon.
Yeah.
And it was really well received. And then in the evening we had a reception, sort of like fellowship. Everybody comes together, gets to know
yeah.
each other. The speakers get to know the audience, and the producers and directors get to work with everybody. It was really a wonderful day, and we're going to keep it going. Our next event will be October 11th in Thousand Oaks at the Performing Arts Center.
Yay.
And once we have details, I'll get that over.
Yes, and as you remember, I was hosting.
You just beat me to it.
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely,
Well,
absolutely.
I was going to say, you can say whatever you want to say about me in a minute, but what I want to say
Right.
about that is.
She's a terrific host, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Sunny and Cher, right? You say
That's
Sunny
right.
and Cher?
That's right. Sherry Hersey was we were sidekick to each other, I guess.
Terrific.
We just,
You guys are awesome.
Well, the reason that I was bringing that up is I just wanted to tell our audience that that I was there witnessing, and that's kind of what ended up happening too. Was it really wasn't just the people in the audience listening to a number of people telling their stories and then some music. In addition to all of that, which would have been great, was the connection of all the people,
Yes.
and a lot of the speakers had never really exactly done that before, so it was a lot of growth and kind of support and everything for them. So you gave many people gifts.
Oh,
I just
thank you.
want to acknowledge you for that.
They deserved it. You did a great job welcoming them. The way you announced them, you and Sherry were just terrific. But it was a
Thank
wonderful
you.
experience because so many people can go to a theater or to an event or watch an event, and it might be a celebrity up there, it might be an actor, an athlete, whatever it may be, and that's great. But you know what? When you hear stories of people like yourself, we call it real stories, real people, as you know.
Exactly. Yes.
And it just brings it home.
That's right.
And having that on stage is so powerful. And you talk about the audience connecting. One of the things that I mentioned that I think was well received was the fact that the person who starts a movement, you talk about a leader in a movement, it's, you have the risk-taking entrepreneur, but I believe the true leaders are the people in the audience. Because they're the ones taking a chance, took a day off from work, it was a Friday,
Right.
and they came out to hear something they never heard before. To me, they're the leaders in the movement. I'm just the lone nut is the joke that I made. And actually I heard that it was a talk that I heard where they were talking about how to start a movement. And that really resonated with me because you could try and try and try. If you don't have somebody to sell that widget to, what good is it? You're going to have a closet full of
point.
widgets.
Good point.
So I was really happy to have almost a full house, incredible feedback. And every one of those speakers, both the professional and the non-professional, they all want to do it again.
And you couldn't tell them apart, by the way.
No, you couldn't. I couldn't tell.
Whoa.
No way.
Yeah. And
Becky did a great job training them.
She
did. A
did.
phenomenal. Becky Woodbridge.
Yes, who was one of your producers, right?
Yeah, she's our executive director of our live events.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
and she did a gorgeous talk herself
Great,
about
Mount
climbing
Everest.
Mount Everest
Yes.
and, the climb. Well,
Yeah.
and so, again, I want to really bring the point home that I felt the generosity of you, sort of the prayer bowl that you created to bring all of the people together to then have this event, and then all of the beauty that everybody enjoyed together, and many, many things happened there that you may never know. A lot of things you will,
and
you may never know, and yet there it is. And you're so generous with sort of giving your book out to people, and if they can afford it, great, and if they can't, then you find a way to get it to them. And I think that's a great kind of way to get the message out, because
I'm glad you said that.
Because sometimes, I mean, the times are however they are and everything, and plus there are a lot of books out there to get at, and so when you really you're so generous with making sure that people can get at it if they want it.
Thank you.
Get it to them.
I want to say along those lines too, because I'm glad you brought that up. So many people gave so much. You came all the way from California on your time. I thank you so much for that. Viva Editions, our publisher, really dropped my cost on the book for the purpose of distributing it at that. So I thank them. And Smile TV for doing all the video production, the pre-edit, the post-edit, all the roles they're producing for all the speakers. Smile TV, their website, smiletvgroup.com, to see all their videos. Just great, you and the team, and Smile TV, and Harold Payne for music choreography. Everybody volunteered, did all this gratis to bring all this together, and I thank you for bringing this up.
Well, my pleasure. And again, I very much look forward to our next show.
Yes, yes, October 11th.
And at this moment, I want to read a couple things because Regina Cates wrote them, and I love them. So I want to say them ahead of time to warm up the house for Regina. We lead with our heart to create a living legacy of which we are proud. I love that so much. Again, I read so many books. Thank you, all of you out there who send me books to get on my show. And I read so many things. And this book is really, really original. I mean, again, when we boil everything down, there are only so many ways we can say certain things. But Regina, you really bring it. And there's one other thing I want to say before we bring her on, John. True power is choosing to stop rushing through life without paying attention to our actions. Courage is slowing down, to keep our heart open, to care about the wake we leave. And there's a story that we're going to be talking about that that I want to talk about when we bring Regina on. So let us bring on Regina Cates to join our conversation. Lead with your heart. Woohoo!
Thank you, Sunny. Thank you, David, for having me.
So we're here, Regina. So I'm going to let you just start talking because I know you just cannot wait.
Can't wait
to dive in. So go for it, girl.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me today. It's really an honor to be with both of you, and I love the conversation so far, and I'm so ready to jump in. I think when any of us go on this particular journey of laying our hearts out on the paper, that we take a great risk, but we also know that the rewards are incredible. Because just as you said, David, we're not doing this for some great pie in the sky kind of reward. We're doing this to let other folks know that, my goodness, life is here to be lived to the fullest, and sometimes all you need is just a tool, just something to help you. So that's the motivation behind the work that I put into this particular work and everything that I do, just as you two are the same.
Oh, well,
that's really nice.
One thing that I loved about your book is your honesty, your just transparency, which I just really loved. And okay, so guys, in this book, Regina is sort of like really laying it out. And I love when you're talking about, I used to be so sort of, I just want to tell people thank you for still being my friend, like driving down the street and being mad at the people in front of me, and, just coming into a grocery store and just being a jerk. And I want to tell you something. I want to thank you for something. Because I was feeling like, you know what? I'm so great most of the time. I mean, I really am. Like, I'm really lovely and great, and I do my best to be so nice to everybody, and, you know, and it comes from a real place. But sometimes I just feel like a complete jerk, and I'm just in a bad mood, and I just want to be in a bad mood, and I just want to and I'll go into a bank, and I'll just be kind of like, just don't bug me, people. Just here's my money, or give me something, whatever it is. And when I read your book, I realized something.
What was that?
It's not okay. I mean, it's just kind of not okay. Like, if I am feeling like that, then I just stay home and kind of stay away from people, because it's just kind of never okay. And I really want to thank you for pointing that out to me, because even though I might have judged myself or given myself an 89% on 100, you know, paper, you know, an A-, it's like, it's just not okay. So when we have that leaking energy of negativity, you know, it's like, yeah, I mean, of course we all have our moments, or maybe we're very sad, but I think one of the things that's super important is to tell the truth to ourselves. Like, okay, I'm really sad today. Something really sad happened. Okay, I'm going to be really sad. And then work with that and be sad and do whatever that is that we do, but don't leak it on other people.
Sure, absolutely.
So thank you for that. I want to have you expound on that, but I really, it's a huge gift to me that you have given me.
Well, thank you, but it was a huge gift that I gave to myself first, and that was the understanding that I'm responsible for my behavior, and I am energy, and the behavior that I put out is energy. And, you know, it doesn't feel good to have someone's negative energy all over you, and it certainly didn't feel good when I was doing it to other people. So that was a wonderful aha for me. It was a transformational moment when I figured out, wow, you know, I get to create the life that I want. But what is the life that I really want? And I think that it's very important for each of us to go through and say, hey, is my life going the way that I want it to be? And if so, great. But if it's not, then what can I do about it? I think too often we sit around waiting for the hero. You know, I think right now in this country that I see a lot of wonderful stuff happening, but I also see that we have some apathy. And I want to let everyone know that I don't see everything that's going on as negative. I see this as a wonderful opportunity for us to look at the laundry list
100%.
of everything that we can do right. But it's about what you and I can do, and it starts with us. So that's the motivation of putting this all down and sharing my heart, because I really, really believe, and in my life have seen, when you take responsibility for you, it's amazing. You know, changed people change people without trying.
Whoa.
You know?
Okay, bumper sticker.
Here's another one.
No kidding. I want to wear that shirt right now.
Yeah.
I love that.
Here's a tweet kind of thing, and that is that, you know, treating other people as you want to be treated doesn't mean waiting for them to go first. You know?
For example,
Exactly.
Be Your Own Happiness Hero.
Yes.
By Regina Cates, people. I wrote that down. I love that. Isn't that great, David?
Beautiful.
Be your own happiness hero.
Yeah.
Come on. That's, I mean, girl, I love
Well,
that.
It hit me because I was in the midst of a major pity party, and no one was showing up but me. You know, me and the dogs and the Kleenex. You know, it was just boring.
Right.
No balloons, no candy, no nothing. And after about 4 hours and the second box of
That
Kleenex,
is the truth.
it was like, wait a second, who's responsible for all of this? And you know, night and day,
Yeah.
it hit me. And I think that when it hits each of us, that wow, you know, we have the opportunity to do things purposefully. You know, I think that for too long I reacted to life. And now I'm really, really working every day, Sonny. I'm not perfect, but I'm working every day as hard as I can to respond, which I think is purposeful. And that's what leading with your heart is all about. It's the wiser part of us. You know, when we get out of that ego boxing phase.
Yes,
You
yes,
know, for sure.
exactly.
You really hit it on the head with the, there is opportunity. I mean, right now, no matter how good or bad things are, you know, when you talk about when opportunities have been found and created, it's always been at the worst times. It's always, you know,
Absolutely.
peaks and valleys. Don't make decisions at the peaks. You make them in the valleys.
Absolutely.
And that's a wonderful metaphor you brought up. Absolutely.
And there's
Absolutely.
somebody, exactly, and there's somebody you and I were talking about earlier, Tom Shadyac, who
Yeah,
is,
absolutely.
we all love, I hope, and any of you who don't know who he is, go find out who he is and read his book and see his movie, I Am, tonight. And he talks about something that I absolutely love, and that is becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable, which of course means just sort of always pushing ourselves. The complacency is not our friend. I tell my kids that too. It's sort of like, it used to be that we sort of, there was this like arriving at something that was most probably complacency. You know, we've got it all. There's enough money in the bank. There's enough food in the refrigerator. Now we can sit back on our couch and watch our TV on a Saturday afternoon and all is well. Well, not really.
No.
You know, having that pebble in your shoe, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. What do you guys think about that?
100%.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know.
Definitely.
I mean, that's what you guys both do. You bring it. You bring it. I'm sitting here looking at two people who bring
Oh, yeah.
it.
You know the cliche making lemonade out of lemons. It's very true. If you don't do that, like you said, your cat and your Kleenex and all that, they don't care.
No, absolutely not.
You know, and
Yeah, I think
a dog, they don't care either.
they don't. One of the greatest gifts, but they're there to love you unconditionally,
Oh, they're wonderful.
which is great.
Oh, I love my dogs, no question.
I think one of the best gifts that we give to ourselves is to view the challenges of life as opportunities, because in every single time that I've done that, and I've lost everything, lost the home, lost the job, lost the relationship, lost the beautiful English cottage garden, everything, I lost it all over a period of time. And what happens is that we're not paying attention, because that part of us, the wiser part, says you need to move, you need to do this, you need to do that, but we don't listen, so you face these things that are taken from you if it's not good. But I think that when you view these things that are taken and the challenges of life as opportunities to grow, man, I tell you what, that's when we blossom. And that, I think, is the key to our taking charge of our own happiness and our own satisfaction with life. What can I do to change it? You know, stop pointing the finger of blame at everyone else, because I can't control anybody. I don't have that magic wand. Believe me, I worked for years to try to pop it on people's head. Nothing ever changed, you know? So I finally got used to hitting it on my own head. What can I do to change?
Yes, Glenda.
That is terrific.
Yeah.
The magic wand.
Yeah.
There's no place like home.
Yeah.
Right.
There, Regina. There's no place like home. And wherever we are, that's where home is. I love this other thing that you said, a couple things. Love yourself first to love others well. And I'm only meant to live my life. And that is the day I became free to simply be me.
Yes.
And you and I were talking at lunch about that, about sort of understanding the power, sort of the responsibility actually, of understanding what we do want. Like you were saying earlier, and you were too, sort of what is our new passion, or every day it could even be changing a touch or something, but to really tell the truth about who we are and how we do want our life to be lived. And our life is our own personal life, like a snowflake and a fingerprint. They are all individual, and understanding at this point, I think we're getting much closer to understanding that the sort of what was considered success or all those kinds of things are being ripped away from us, and I feel to a benefit in a lot of ways.
Sure, we have to define success for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, because we've been told what it is for so long, and we really need to look at that. I did. You know, I think the rock climbing guy has looked at that also very carefully for his own life.
And you, David, you've had well, I don't know if I would say you've had a charmed life. I also feel that, David is the inventor of the word psyched. I mean, I know you guys have heard that word before in your life, but it's never been used in the way that David uses the word, I'm psyched. And
exactly.
So you, this is
happy and enthusiastic at the same time.
Absolutely.
And this is something that's gone on with David for a long time.
Yes.
Like, I don't know when it ever wasn't. So you were this kind of person. You were sort of, I don't know what the boy Pollyanna thing is, but Mr. Magoo or whatever, I don't know.
Right.
But this is how your life was.
Right.
And so you're kind of a walking example of seeing it pretty damn good, and it kind of goes that way. And not to say you haven't had, I'm sure some trials and tribulations, but I don't know if anyone else would ever even know.
Well, for me, it's
Because
been...
you still have a lot of hair and everything is good. It's like, oh my God, you look awesome, whatever. I don't know.
Thank you. That's so nice. Well, honestly, it's one of those things where I was always sort of the nutty kid in the neighborhood that when I got hurt, I was happy about it because I knew I wouldn't get hurt again. If I hit the baseball the wrong way, I was happy about it because I knew I'd hit it better next time. I just always found the silver lining. My parents, like, where did this come from? They kept saying. But, but it was one of those things, and that's why I think I found my calling in this project, because now I'm doing for others and helping others do something that's always been inside of me. I love it.
Right.
Well, and the thing is, I don't know if you can feel this, Regina, and I think it's true with you going through everything that you've gone through on one side, and then really being able to live it on the other side of really embracing the aspect of positive, contagious optimism, leading with your heart, and with you, David, sort of living your whole life that way. You're so rock solid with that. I mean, I relate to you a bit about that because I was, at 2 and 3, I hear the stories that my aunts would tell me that and no matter what was going on outside, when they would put me in the stroller, I would say, "Oh, what a beautiful day." And I mean, it was just always about that. And for you guys to know, Sunny is actually my real given name. So it wasn't
Very
one.
apropos, by the way.
Thank you very much. It wasn't one that I picked up in college or whatever. But I really was like that, and I was very, very much a Mr. Magoo. I really just figured that, if I saw a puddle, it was this beautiful rainbow was in it or whatever. I mean, it was just always like that. I did go through a dark period and then got to learn a lot of humility and compassion for others, because before that I was sort of more like, what's the matter with you people? Why are you not thrilled? And then Regina, you have that example where you really went through kind of a lot of darkness and stuff to move to another side, and so you can speak about it with a lot of truth and heart and conviction, I feel like.
Yeah, and I've always been a positivity junkie too. I really have. It's I think that a lot of my journey after that, that experience with the victim part, but I think a lot of my journey has been remaining true to me, remaining true to, I see that this is a better way to do it. One of the first things that I had difficulty with was the church telling me that I was wrong.
Right.
And it was definitely against love. So it to me has been this, we need to stay with who we are. We need to fight for that. That's what we need to do to stay authentic to who we've been born to be.
Nice.
To stay with that positivity.
amazing.
We come in with that. Every soul is whole, no matter how wounded the human being. So we started out as wonderful little light beings, and then we somehow get formed and molded and shaped. That's the journey that I took. But we started out like that.
Yes.
And what if we can go ahead and nurture that in our children? What if we can go ahead and give them something that would be a guidebook so that they know how to create life the best, so that they don't have to go through everything that we went through.
Yeah.
Challenge is excellent, and it teaches a lot, but as Marianne says, we can also learn through love.
Right.
Absolutely.
So there's a story I want to tell that's from Regina's book, and if there's another little story that you want to tell, because I know we're getting slowly to the end of our show, guys, if we can believe it.
Wow.
So Regina, if you don't mind,
Yes,
I'm going
ma'am.
to tell this story.
Sure.
So Regina, in her book, was talking about, and I'll paraphrase, that Regina loved to go fishing with her dad, and so they would get up really early in the morning and get in their boat and get into the boat, and of course it was very early in the morning, so the waves, there were no waves. I mean, the water was very peaceful, and the birds would be around, and the fish would be swimming all around, and everything would be lovely, and they'd be going along. And then there was a patch of the water to get to the other side where the dad had to turn on the motor. So he turned on the motor, and of course it's really loud, and it's the oil, it's smelly, and it's just, and so all the fish are running away, and the birds, of course, have flown, and Regina's not that thrilled. It's kind of like, this is just kind of agitating and everything like that. And then getting to and then, of course, huge waves and all of that, so it's really disruptive. And then to the other side, then the dad turns it off again and then sort of coast into where they were going to be fishing. And so again, care about the wake your behavior leaves. When I read that, I was just really feeling that. I mean, just on so many levels. I mean, obviously environmental, but just again saying about our leaking energy when it's not so nice, or knowing the ripple effect when it is nice. And so I love that story.
That's
that was a big aha for me. What the behavior I put out impacts other people. It impacts me. And for many years, I didn't take responsibility, but it impacts everybody else too. So we have to care about the wake we leave.
Yes.
Why? Because that's loving. It's loving ourselves, and it's loving other people. We can't just go through life thinking we're the only person on the planet. It just doesn't work like that.
Exactly.
That's why we have the stress that we do. That's why we have the difficulties. If we just each was responsible for what we do and the actions that we're putting out there, our world would change overnight.
That's beautiful. I feel so fortunate to be here today. It's such an honor to meet you and
It's an
hear
honor to meet you.
hear these things you're saying. It's really very moving. Outstanding.
Thank you, sir.
And I want to say one thing about you. isn't it great? I'm sure Regina agrees. Isn't it great that you actually read these books?
Thank you.
First time I
Thank
was on
you.
this show was in September of 2013, and she had my book prior to me coming on, and she knew the whole book cover to cover, just like this today.
Thank you.
It's so rewarding.
It is
Oh.
very rewarding. Yeah.
So
Thank you,
Good
guys.
job.
Well, it's
both
so
of you, terrific.
Thank you. Well, it's so nice for me because I feel like I learn so much, and I just feel really grateful that I'm in this position to have. I mean, you guys have done the hard work. All I have to do is read it. You've put your heart, soul, and again, being so transparent to put your hearts out there and do that. So thank you for honoring me in that way. What I wrote down about the boat story, I just want to say, is the wake, the peace or the wake of pain, embarrassment, not living in integrity, lying, creating distrust of self. Yikes, is what I wrote down when I was thinking about that, because I thought, again, when I teach my kids, it's like when you're not really living in integrity, oh God, it just feels awful. And that's when we aren't loving to ourselves. We just can't help it. It's like a toxin that we're taking in. Might as well just, drink whatever those toxins are that we drink. So really being able to find a way, again, like you and I were talking about before too, knowing who we are, whatever it is. I mean, other people may think it should be something else, but it's okay. We can just do what we want to do, people. Let's give ourselves a breath. And just say it's okay, and but be true to ourselves.
And I think part of
So
being
much easier in a way after, I mean, oh my God, at this age, like, come on already.
Truth is much easier.
well, it is, and I think part of that is respecting ourselves so that we respect others, being courteous with ourselves so that we're courteous to others. And
That
I think
compassion.
that it's huge. Empathy, compassion. I think that those lend, when we follow those principles, that we really create a life of incredible love, compassion, and purpose. We really do.
And fun. Let us
Yeah,
not forget
fun.
the fun.
Absolutely.
I
Exactly.
mean, that's the thing when you were talking about teaching things to our kids and all that. And it's, I've been accused of being childlike for a long time. I would always say to my friends, come over and play. And my kids would say, Mom, really? I'm like, yeah, really. That's what we're going to do. I think I even sent an email to both of you guys, and I said
Yes.
something about, I can't wait to play tomorrow.
Yes.
Right.
That was good.
But that's the thing. It's like that. When you play an instrument, what do? I mean, that's what we're doing, right, John?
Yes.
And so, guys, we're kind of getting to the end. How much time do we have? Because I want to make sure that we would just
3 minutes.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I want to do a couple things and make sure that we get to this. I want to ask you to tell a quick story, and Regina, I want you to tell me, unless that was a story. In the book Contagious Optimism, it is about stories. So do you have like a very, very quick little story, or if I did it with the boat story, that really brought you to an optimistic place?
Absolutely. Very quickly, I was the MBA program director at a little college in Georgia, and I overheard a professor being rude to a secretary. I stepped in. I went back to my office, embarrassed. He wrote me a horribly scathing email. I started writing him something nasty back, and all of a sudden, something within me said, are you going to treat him the way that you want to be treated? Are you going to stand up? Are you going to do something different? And in that moment, Sonny, I transformed my life forever because I chose to write back to him. Because I'd started the victimization email. I'd had it all put down on paper, how bad he was. I chose to erase all that, and I said, Dear Dr. X, I am so sorry for the way I behaved. Please forgive me. Sincerely, Regina Victoria Cates. When I left the college, Sonny, he's the one that gave me a parting gift.
Oh.
That, by assuming responsibility for my behavior, even though he was an ass and I was an ass, I stopped doing the ass dance, and I took responsibility. That changed my behavior, and it changed my relationship with him, so much so that not only did I get the gift, he also helped me and was instrumental as a partner at the time I was at the college. I
Whoa.
believe this is what we need to do in order to change our relationships in our world. Take responsibility for our own actions.
Exactly.
Amen
Definitely.
to that.
Definitely.
So I want to ask you if you have a parting gift for us.
A parting gift?
Uh-huh.
Sure.
Other than one other parting gift we'll have.
Sure. I'm going to hold up this picture if the camera could see me. This is Kimberly Hopper from the state of New Jersey. You guys see our
Yeah.
audience. Hey, audience. See that? It's one of our newest stories. It'll be in our second book, the second volume of Contagious Optimism. And it's a touching story. Basically, Kim had a Norman Rockwell beautiful childhood, grew up in the suburbs, straight A student, terrific athlete, went on to college, same thing. When she graduated college shortly after, she wasn't feeling good one day. She had a bad headache. The headache ended up leading to her passing out, going into the hospital, 3 days in a coma. Turned out she had developed encephalitis. And when she came to, she lost all her memory, ages 1 to basically 22.
Wow.
So through friends, family, and photographs, excuse me, she had to relearn her life.
Wow.
I mean, the memories were reduced to photographs, but she had to relearn education, relearn everything. And she did that over the course of about 8 to 10 years. She eventually got married, had a child, her first child. But the problem was she was afraid almost to leave the house. She was afraid to do almost anything because she was worried about a relapse. And now not only losing her memory again, but now losing the memory of her husband and her child. But one day, you talk about asking the universe, one day she said, I can't live like this anymore. This is not going to work for me. And it hit her that she needs to seize the day, you know, carpe diem. I know we've heard that term so many times, it's almost like cliche, but it's so true. And it hit her like a ton of bricks. Now, even though a ton of bricks and a ton of feathers weigh the same thing, a ton of bricks in my mind is still heavier. So anyway, it hit her like a ton of bricks, and she woke up. The angel came to her, she woke up, and now she does seize every day. She never looks back. She's even pregnant with their second child.
Oh, great.
And it's a wonderful
Amen.
story. It's one of my new favorite stories.
That's great.
And that's an incredible story. Well, I know John is going to tell us we're coming to our end.
Yep.
So now, John, we don't need to give out emails and all that websites because it's on the board, right?
Well, you can give that out just because
Okay,
we have
really?
listeners who
Okay.
aren't watching.
So really fast. So go for it, Regina.
Sure. Website, romancingyoursoul.com, and on Facebook, Romancing Your Soul.
Yay.
Nice.
And David, go for it.
ContagiousOptimism.com, and the same keywords for Facebook and the other social media.
So I'm feeling a rhythm coming on. We have to go out, and I'm going to ask all my friends in the studio audience here to sing with me. We are going out. This has been the Contagious Optimism Show with Sunny Chayes, Regina Cates, and David Mezzapelle with our fabulous engineer, John Williams, who's going to sing with me. And this day we're singing this song, and next time we're going to have it in a different way. But right now, guys, sing this with us. Are we ready?
Yes.
Optimism is contagious. Say it loud and sing it strong.
Yes.
Oh yeah, optimism is contagious. Pick it up and pass it on.
Nice.
Optimism is contagious. One more time, join in.
Say it loud and say it strong.
Oh yeah, optimism is contagious.
Pick it up and pass it on.
Bye-bye. Until next time, it's the gang. See ya.